This is a presentation of National Streaming Sports. Over 20 podcasters, 70 weekly shows, and a 3.4-star rating on Roku TV.
I don't know, Jack. It's a big decision.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying base.
Pittsburgh at Buffalo.
Thank you. Yeah, I thought I was right. So anyway,
Yeah, Mac, you're really interested in these playoffs.
so
This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning. You're listening to the Mac and Jack Sports Show on Northeast Streaming Sports.
well, we made it through, Jack. We got to Friday. Nobody got hurt. Injury. We're not on the injury list, the PUP list, anything like that. So we're ready to go here on Mac and Jack National Streaming Sports Show, Friday edition. Of course, I'm your host, your co-host here, Jack Hirsch. And Jack, shout out to Frank Tirzo for last night's interview. Great interview with him. You can check that out on YouTube. It'll also be on the Roku channel, coming in different slots. But I want to get to the Olympics. And when I watched the Olympics when I was younger, my favorite events were boxing. I watched Sugar Ray Leonard. I watched the Spinks brothers. I watched Roy Jones. I followed their careers through the amateur into pros. I felt like I was part of their story. It was great. It was great times in Olympic boxing. And it's a sad note that the biggest story in Olympic boxing right now is France dropping the ban, allowing transgender women to box against biological women. In other words, men are fighting women right now. And the first fight happened last night, and the woman's boxer quit in 46 seconds of the opening round because she was getting pummeled by a man. Now, Jack, I know you got a lot to say. I got some things to say. I'll let you go first on this.
Well, technically, she got pummeled by another woman, technically, who has men's genes, hormones, or whatever you call it. Forgive me if I'm being a little inaccurate with my terms, but I'm sure everybody knows what I mean. How do you like that? Boxing is the biggest story of the Olympics once again, but boxing's the biggest story for all the wrong reasons. I mean, that's the story of the sport of boxing in itself a lot of the time. It's not the fights. It's not going back to the days of when we had gold medalists like, Cassius Clay, Joe Frazier, George Foreman, Sugar Ray Leonard, Pernell Whitaker, Andre Ward, Oscar De La Hoya, and on and on. It was a big thing. And I'm going to tell you, in this controversy, transgender athletes allowed to cross over, supposedly, into the boxing ring, giving one competitor a tremendous advantage, because in reality, it's like a man fighting a woman. In reality, even though technically it's two women in the ring, everyone has the option of changing and being what they want. But this is a woman's issue. It really is. The women have to stand up, in a situation like this. And then the men will back them up. But if the women competitors aren't making a lot of noise about this, they're not all banding together. And if the women groups who are going to get on a man if he does something wrong, and rightfully so, by the way, if a man makes a big mistake, why aren't they rallying around this cause? It's like they're leaving it for the men to handle it. Rally around this cause, women's groups. The men have your back in this instance. But if you're not doing anything, no serious action is going to be done. And think of the women who've been training so long for this Olympic moment, and they have it kind of taken away from them unfairly.
I agree, and well said. I couldn't have said it better myself. Let's welcome in TGI Sports Talk host Keith Engle. Keith,
Hey, Keith.
Morning, guys.
You know, if I'm coaches or trainers of these women, managers of these amateur women in some way, I am telling the French Olympic chiefs there, we're not fighting. We're out. You transgenders can fight. We'll have our own little tournament after this is over, and we'll find out who the real boxing champion is. And I know, as Jack said, men would be behind it. I don't know why they're not doing it. I think it's ridiculous. And what are your thoughts?
I agree with everything I heard Jack say once I signed on, and it's a weird situation. First of all, they're trying to pat. I don't know what the situation is with this person. There are arguments being made that they're not transgender. They were born with neither sex, which is something totally different, right? But either way, I mean, to the point about women not backing it up, part of me thinks they don't do it because there are a lot of women groups that think they can compete with men. We've had this competition or this conversation for a while, especially on my shows. And this shows women can't compete with men at a high level, right? In most sports.
In none of the sports, Keith, in reality. Let's be honest about it. And it's no put down of women. No. I mean, it's just what it is.
Not your major sports, right? I mean, I agree. And probably all of them. I was trying to be kind, I guess, so I don't get ripped like I normally get by the women who follow my show. Because I get in trouble.
Well, I'm wrong. Something like figure skating, for example. But even then, the women can look a lot better, but men can jump higher. Move a little quick in reality.
I find it interesting, the fact, as you say, the women's groups won't get behind this. They could probably stop this because they're very, very vocal. They're very strong. They carry a lot of weight in this country. I mean, they get on guys like Harrison Bucker from Kansas City about his comments. They don't want to be told they have to stay in the kitchen and have babies. But I don't think if those people would get behind this cause, then I think it would stop in a hurry. It's ridiculous. It's just crazy.
No, Keith, this is just an athletic thing. Any individual has a right to change as long as they're not hurting anyone else. They have every reason, and you agree on that, I know, and Mac does.
Totally.
This is affecting athletes in competition. Let's say hypothetically, one of the NBA players crossed over and wanted to play in the WNBA, one of the NBA stars, and he totally obliterated every possible record. Are we going to count that?
No, you can't. By the way, this is a dangerous situation. Somebody could get hurt.
That's what Frank said. That's what Frank said. Frank, when I interviewed him, said somebody could get killed.
Yeah.
Somebody could get killed here and or seriously injured. And, to me, it's not up to the women's groups because the women's groups are political, right? They'll go any which way the wind's blowing. It's up to the female boxers in the Olympics right now. I know you trained for 40 years. I get it. I know you want to win an Olympic medal. I get it. But this is not the way to do it. If they all withdrew tomorrow, guess what? Women's boxing is done over there in the Olympics right now. If they do that, if they threaten to do it, it's done. I think it's up to the women's boxers and their managers to do this and say, hey, listen, we'll have our own tournament. We'll call it a championship, whatever we got to do. We're not participating.
It's not the Olympic Games, Matt. You can't.
I'm telling you, Jack, that's the only way.
They won't be winning Olympic gold
medals. It doesn't matter, Jack. They're not going to win. They're not going to win anyway. Jack, they're not going to win anyway. They're not going to win.
There are a lot of other weight classes where they will win, but
where there's no men involved, maybe,
yeah.
I get your point. I don't know that there's other men involved except this.
No, there's a few. There's a few. They ban them from going. They ban these guys or these or whatever transgender women. They banned them during other tournaments. The French chiefs decide to lift the ban for this for the Olympics. So that's why it is what it is.
And I think it's really sad, too, because I think the Olympics for the first weekish here have done a great job of overcoming what was just a hot mess of an opening ceremony. And I think there's been some great storylines. You mentioned the women's rugby, Simone Biles. There's a lot of great storylines happening here. Katie Ledecky. And this story is dominating a lot of the news cycles. And that's sad for athletes.
Let me tell you one of the stories, Keith, that's kind of dominating the news. A couple of shows ago, Matt could vouch for this, it's on tape. I talked glowingly about Simone Biles. Glowingly, the great representative she is, the great sports person. I gave her A+ across the board. No athlete rated high in my book. Last couple of days, she's went down with her remarks. I mean, I found it so distasteful. A former Olympic teammate praised Simone Biles, but a while ago, but then questioned the work ethic of the teammate. But then right after that the former teammate apologized formally, saying she regrets all her statements, this and this and this, and apologized as clear as could be. Simone Biles didn't say a word about it after. Her Olympic teammates didn't say a word about after the apology came out. But after they win the gold medal, they're taking cheap shots at the former teammate. Cheap shots. If you're not gonna accept the apology, say so afterwards. Don't talk after you win the gold, after the fight's over. It was a cheap shot led by Simone Biles. Shame on her. Shame on Simone Biles for her conduct after they won the gold medal.
Yeah, I think it doesn't totally diminish her in her eyes. But I thought this the other day, the same thing. And I think we were talking the Olympics Wednesday night, and I was going to try to get that part out that she didn't need to do this, right? She can stand alone on her own accomplishments. She does not need to answer it to anybody else.
But the person apologized, Keith.
I get it.
Her former teammate never said that Simone Biles didn't work hard enough. She said it was the other girls. She questioned the teammates. But then she apologized, said, look, I was out of place. I was out of line, and it should be the end of it, basically. But if they weren't going to accept the apology, let's hear it immediately. Let's not wait until they win a gold medal, because that was gutless. Now they win the gold medal. They have this big advantage. They want to go after the former teammate that apologized. Come on.
I agree 100%, to be honest with you. And I was losing my track of thought because Mac was giving me an epileptic fit here with what was going on in the background.
You got to be professional, Keith, at all times. Remember that.
I was doing it.
Okay, so, hey, I got a new toy. What can I tell you? I mean, I
well, Mac, I don't know you're planning to go the whole scan of the Olympics, because I know.
Well, I want to. Me and you will talk a little bit about it a little later. I want to get Keith some of Keith's thoughts on a few stories. College sports, Keith, college football. The schedule's out, of course. Florida, not only do they play in Miami the first game, but they probably have the toughest schedule in the Power 4 ranking. They got 7 out of 25 of the top 25 teams. Georgia, they have a set with Georgia, Texas, and LSU in the August.
They've got maybe one of the toughest schedules, at least for, looking at it before the season starts, that I can remember. And not only is it a gauntlet for them to run, the coach is under fire. Billy Napier's got to have a good season to keep his job, most likely. And I'm not sure they're going to be in a position. They struggled last year. I don't think they're going to improve enough, especially with that league getting tougher for Billy Napier to be able to keep his job. This is a tough schedule. I will say this: if they overperform and do well, then maybe he does save his job. But I can't see him doing it against this type of competition.
That's a heck of a 3-game stint there. I don't know anybody that has a 3-game.
What is this for, Keith? Nebraska. I mean, under Coach Rule, are they a team that's going to be a force? I'm hearing things like that. They didn't have a good team last year, and they play Colorado in the opening game. And I get the feeling Deion Sanders, the honeymoon period, is not going to, long over. And Colorado, it looks like they're going to struggle this year. Am I correct?
Colorado's going to lose that game. Matt Rule's a really great college football coach. He didn't do well in the NFL, but a lot of guys don't. He did a tremendous job turning around a Baylor program that was in disarray with all kinds of allegations of misconduct wherever you looked and lack of administrative control. Did a great job there. Coming into Nebraska, he's turned that roster pretty much over. He's got a third-year starting quarterback. I think this team was getting better as the season went on. They weren't losing games by a lot. They need to learn how to win. I don't think they're going to win the Big Ten. Don't get me wrong, but I think Nebraska is taking the right steps to at least get close to what Nebraska used to be. I think they'll be fun to watch.
All right, good. Talk about the opening. I'm almost positive opening day, Keith. You've got 3 games that have some kind of significance. We already talked about Florida at Florida State, Notre Dame's at Texas A&M. That's going to be another good one. And we've got Penn State at West Virginia. How good do you think West Virginia is going to be this year?
Listen, West Virginia is one of those teams. I'm surprised Coach Brown kept his job there. The rumors were he was going to get fired, but they played better near the end of last year. The Big 12 is going to be an interesting conference because I think there's 7 or 8 teams that could finish anywhere from 1 to 8, all of them. It's not going to be as good as the SEC. It's not going to be as good as even the ACC probably. But it's going to be a very entertaining and I think wide open league. And West Virginia could surprise. I like Utah there, and I like Oklahoma State to battle it out for the championship there. But I think West Virginia could be one of the surprise teams, or they could stink because they've been very inconsistent pretty much since they moved to the Big 12.
A little MLB Yankees news. They sweep Philly, even though the Philly sports guy predicted that the Phillies would beat the Yankees 10-0.
He predicted they go 162-0, so I don't think that's much of a surprise.
I mean, listen, Yankees finally win 3 in a row. They win a series. DJ LeMahieu ends up getting a grand slam, drives in 2 more runs. He ends up getting 6 RBIs. I hope he wakes up. It'll be nice to get his bat up to, at least around 300 by the end of the year. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. But right away, their relief pitcher, Leiter Jr., comes in there in a tough spot and gets them out of that spot, Keith.
Yeah,
DJ LeMahieu, you mean you want him to get his batting average up to 200? You said 300. Maybe you want him to hit 300 for the rest of the year. Joe Torre used to say it best to players. You're not going to get your average up by the end of the season. Don't worry about it. What teams should do is the beginning of each month, post the stats on the board as a motivation for each player, like what you're hitting for the month, But DJ LeMahieu is a pro. He has value, moving him around different positions, and they have 2 years left on his contract after this one at $15 million a year. See, he's going to be with the Yankees next year. So get used to him. Use him as you can. And if he hits from now on, and he's just average, and and you can move him around the infield, he still could have some value to the team, some good value, perhaps.
He's still a good, if not, he's not a great fielder at any of the positions, but he's good at every position that he plays, third, second, first. Yeah. He comes in for defense at first base a lot. I like what DJ can provide here. I don't remember the original question. What was the
Mac wants him to hit 300 on the season.
I want him to get up there at 300 by the end of the year.
Right. He's probably not going to do that. Can he be a valuable contributor here? Yes, especially if Anthony Rizzo's not going to come back at full strength. They're going to need depth in that infield. I'm sure they're going to move Chisholm around. He may play some more center field, some more third base. He might play some second base. But you've also got DJ who can play all those positions too. So they've got some really good versatility right now.
Well, this is going to be a fun offseason for you, Keith. When you look at all the holes the Yankees are going to have in the offseason, first base, Gleyber Torres will be a free agent. Second base, they'll have to address third base and left field. Chisholm will either have third base and left field, let's say, in all likelihood. So that would leave a good 3 positions, let alone the pitching.
It could be at second base, too. I mean, they do have options.
Second. So but then you have, unless he's going to stay with Fideo another year, and you still have third base. You're going to have Cabrera in DJ again, and then you have first base. So you can really come back with Ben Rice.
And the catching hasn't been great either. You got
Well,
started.
the catching's okay with Austin Wells and Trevino coming back.
He's
Wells
played
has been hitting.
He's been played better, but he's not great behind the plate either. You still need a defensive catcher, and he's not there yet. He hasn't caught that long. Mark Leader is the guy I was trying to get back to, Mark Leader Jr. He's one of those, he's an under the radar, and we see it every trade deadline now. Most of the guys who get traded are like relief pitchers. That's the bulk of what gets traded. And the ones who really step up and help their team, those are the guys who win the trade deadline. And I was really excited to see Mark Leader Jr. get in here. He's the nephew of Al Leiter, by the way, and his father pitched in the major leagues.
Yeah, well, Keith, you're giving Brian Cashman credit, doing a good job getting Leiter, Chisholm, before the deadline.
I would like to have seen more, but he wasn't going to trade prospects, and I don't want to go down that whole road again. But if he wasn't going to trade prospects, I don't see how he could have done a lot better than what he did, and I'm okay.
So Boston wins 3.
One last comment. It's not your totally like we're all in. This isn't your all in kind of trade deadline moves, but if you're not going to move,
well, there was Keith. Honestly, nobody made a really all in trade moves. It was with all those teams that have a shot at making the playoffs. There's not a lot of trade movement like there used to be. So let's talk a little bit about Boston.
So.
Let's talk about a little bit about Boston. Boston wins 3-2. Devers hits the double with an imaginary man on second. His name, it wasn't really imaginary. It was a guy, Tyler O'Neill. But remember in wiffle ball, Jack, I mean, you were the wiffle ball king. You hit the ball, you went to second, you went back to the imaginary man on second. That's how Boston won the game. And, of course, to me, that's a bunch of nonsense. But it is what it is. Boston wins.
Big difference. Hang on, let's before I lose my track of thought here with Mac trying to give me this. There's one big difference between your comparison of wiffle ball and Major League Baseball. The guy in wiffle ball earned his way to second base. Major League Baseball, we just put him out there. So
true,
right? Okay, I just want to make sure.
No. I know you and Mac are traditionalists. But you had to speed up these extra inning games. They're brutal the way they go on and on. Games were lasting too long. Major League Baseball got it right.
Call it a tie. It's over.
Both teams get the opportunity. They start out evenly with a guy at second base.
Call it a tie. It's over. You don't have to worry about the length of the game anymore.
Listen, but I like the pitch clock. I can understand. So then after 10 innings, you call it a tie.
Why do we need both? No. First of all, no ties in baseball. Never. Stop. That can't happen.
Why not?
Second of all, if we have the pitch clock to speed up the 9-inning games, which is the problem, not the extra inning games, it's the 9-inning games that were really the problem. If you got a pitch clock, I don't need that imaginary runner on second base. That we don't need that. Major League Baseball lied to us from the beginning. They said this will go away. They kept saying it would go away, and it's still here. And it just changes the whole dynamic of the game. And I hate it. I hate it. And please.
Well, anyways, back to Boston. Me and Jack talked about this guy. I said, well, they got a backup catcher. The Boston Red Sox, no big deal. Jack said, wait a minute. That might be a bigger thing than you think. And it was. He jumps in and he DHs. He drives in a run. So that worked for him. And their main pickup there. Let me get to him real quick. Danny Hansen is the backup catcher we talked about. And instant contribution by Lucas Sims, a relief pitcher they picked up. That's when you make good trades. If these guys can come right in and help your team out right away, I think that's a good trade for any team. Mets end up losing, 3-2? 8-3.
Wait. They didn't play yesterday, the Mets.
Neither did the Yankees. We're going back.
Right. So we're going, wait. It's Friday morning with the Wednesday night scores. I mean, for those of you who haven't heard the scores, you're getting them here.
A lot of people sleep a lot.
We're analyzing, Jack. That's part of our job. We're analyzing the trades and how they worked out. Anyway, so the Mets do lose 8-3. They didn't play last night either, Jack. So those are all our locals didn't play last night.
Alex Cora did a great job. Speaking of Red Sox, Alex Cora does a great job. He was probably on a hot seat. We talked about this a couple weeks ago.
Oh,
Yes.
well, he wasn't in a hot seat.
He certainly was.
Him 3 years
He
for
doesn't matter how long
He wasn't on any hot seat.
Sure he is. That
He
team,
was in big demand. They didn't want him to be a free agent to Sox. They gave him a mega deal.
if they had finished last again this season, Joey Cora would have been in trouble for sure. Now, to get to my
Alex Cora, right?
I tend to do that a lot. I apologize, Alex Cora.
I do it too. Don't worry about it.
My point being, he's done a great job because when you looked at this, I looked at this roster in the beginning of the season. I said, where are the runs going to come from? There's nobody here who can produce. And then they had all kinds of injuries. And not only did the guys who I thought couldn't produce, did produce a lot of them, even the guys that stepped up because they had a ton of injuries early in the year, like a lot of teams did. But they overcame them. It was a next man up mentality, and they did very and still have done very, very well. And the Royals and the Yankees better be careful. I think right now the Red Sox are still in a wild card as we speak today. I'm not positive.
I got to give credit to Mac. Mac did call it at the beginning of the season how the Red Sox would do. Okay?
Well, we all know he's
the
Red Sox. We know.
And the thing about it, the Red Sox too, which is surprising me, they have arguably the worst defensive team in baseball. They make so many miscues in the field, yet they still manage to win. So you're right. Great job by Alex Cora. And, and the players, I guess, are buying into his philosophy, and he has a way of talking to him.
Before we go on, I got to call Mac out. I'm pretty sure on my Sunday Stream of Consciousness later in the show, there was a comment from Mac that might put his Yankee card in jeopardy. I don't know.
Yeah.
Listen. It was all reverse psychology. I wanted the Yankees to hear me that if that the Red Sox are going to finish in second, and of course, what happens?
That won't happen. Red Sox are going to have a hard time holding on to third. Okay.
I don't think so.
I mean, they're going to finish ahead of Toronto, who's having a miserable year, but the Rays are right behind the Red Sox. So if the Red Sox third, even if they don't make the playoffs, I think it's a highly successful season.
The Rays didn't act at the trade deadline like they were interested in finishing third, though. I mean, they didn't bring in any help at all. They unloaded the little bit that they did. They unloaded.
Tampa Bay isn't a big doesn't work that way anyway. They work from their farm system.
Well, they're going to be getting a new stadium there. The taxpayers obviously paid for. The deal was worked out. But the thing that surprises me, the stadium's supposed to seat 30,000 people, which is fine for most games. But what happens if the team really catches on and they're a hot attraction? I understand Fenway Park is a nice, cozy park. But I think they're building ballparks with less capacity now because maybe they just don't like the view of empty seats.
I think that's part of it. It's more manageable. And by the way, why would we think they're going to draw more than that? They've been good for a long time and been competitive in two World Series in the last 15 years. And I don't ever think those fans are going to really support this team.
No, there's no doubt. Florida on off-season training camps, I think they get more fans.
Well, Miami. I mean, the Miami, Tampa Bay, I mean, they haven't been great franchises as far as a fan base goes. And you kind of wonder about certain cities that might, still want a major league team, where it might mean a lot to them, where they might turn out. I always wondered, would Buffalo be a big enough city if they had their own team? What type of attendance they get? For football, they sell out, but that's only a handful of games a year.
Yeah, they support the Sabres too, but they didn't support the Braves when they were there. So it's hard to say if they can support four major sports in that market.
I would agree. One other clip. Mike Trout is out for the season. Should he just retire? I mean, really? I mean, I know he loves the game, but he came back. He's out again. Because he's hurt. Jack, he's hurt every year. He's hurt all the time. You can't depend on him.
$35 million a year.
I know what he's getting today, Jack. I'm asking.
Just give the money up, right?
Listen, if he can't play anymore,
play next
he's
year.
out again, Jack. He can't play if he's injured.
Mac, he'll come back. at some point, not this year, next year. And worst case scenario, he can DH. Stanton gets hurt all the time. Should he just retire?
Yes.
Yeah, well,
No.
Oh, he should just give the money up. Come on.
listen, I'm saying for the team. I mean, listen,
Forget about the money. Talk about from a baseball standpoint, right? Mike Trout's probably not going to retire because he's very competitive. That's part of what makes him a great player that he is. That and a lot of talent. And it's really sad. It's really sad that it's come to this. Mike Trout could have been one of the best ever, and through no fault of his own,
he is one of the best ever.
You guys are funny because he is a great player when he's healthy, but he's not healthy anymore. This is not the first time.
But again, he's not going to just retire. And forget about the money. I'm not talking about the money. I'm talking about the competitor in Mike Trout is not going to let him retire. He's going to think he can come back and overcome this, even though he's got a track record that says he can't. And if he ever does have a full season, actually he's getting old now. What's he? Probably 30. I don't know what he is. 33, 4.
I'm not sure. Most of his mid-30s.
Mike Trout's going to go his entire career with no postseason, and it's one of those what could have been, and not because of drugs, not because of anything else. His body betrayed him, and I think
guys. Mike Trout was performing well this year before he got injured. It wasn't like he was a declining player. We don't know what he would have done the rest of the year. We don't know. He may have been great. He may have been average the rest of the year.
We don't know every year what he's going to do for the rest of the year. Jack, he gets hurt every year.
He's an all-time great. He's injured this year.
I'm not denying that. I'm saying the team expects you to play all year. They go with that perception, and they don't look for other players. And
you know what I would be annoyed about if I were the Angels? Not Mike Trout. Anthony Rendon, who they got from the Nationals, $35 million a year. They're still paying him. He's been a disaster.
By the way,
that's an absolute disastrous signing. One of the worst, arguably Anthony Rendon. I'll say it. I think it's been the worst free agent signing in baseball history, the way it's turned out. Now, I'm not saying Rondon hasn't been legitimately injured. I'm not saying that. But the point is the Angels haven't gotten value back in return.
I'll say this. It's a great comparison if you want to compare the two guys, because Anthony Rendon came out and said, I don't even like playing baseball. Then just quit and go away. He should quit and go away. Mike Trout should not quit and go away if he thinks he can still play. If he gets hurt, he gets hurt. If you don't want him to be on your team, then move him. But Mike Trout deserves the chance to try and continue to play, because
I would love for him to wind up on the Yankees.
Another injured player. Him and Stanton can sit in the dugout together, injured, and have a couple drinks, for about 20, 30 games. Yeah, that's
now I will agree with that, because I don't want him to be on the Yankees. I want him to continue trying to play. I don't want him on the Yankees. So
yeah, well, I want him on the Yankees if something could be worked out.
All right. So, Keith, you want to stick around for a few more minutes, or you got to go?
I can stay about 5 or 6 minutes.
Just mention, Keith, Juan Soto goes elsewhere as a free agent, which is a distinct possibility, and the Yankees pivot and make a deal for Mike Trout. There'll be big excitement in Yankee land. Big excitement that, a superstar like Mike Trout is coming. Mike Trout coming to the Yankees would be the equivalent of Aaron Rodgers coming to the Jets.
Jack, there will be excitement, and there will be a lot of people saying, what the hell are you doing bringing an injured player that's injured every year? That will also be
I'm okay with that. Trading for Stanton, and I'm okay with that. How about that?
Trade for Stanton? Stanton's played more than Trout, I think, in the last few years, Keith.
He's not nearly as productive. I mean, he plays half a season. Stanton strikes out every other time he's up.
Stanton's having a good year this year. Keith, he missed a month, but
you call this a good year. Why do you keep calling this a good year? He leads the league and leaving men at second and third and 2 outs. He stinks. Because he's got a few home runs and RBIs. His on base percentage is below 300. He leaves guys on base in droves. He has a couple of good games, but he falls back in love with this guy.
I forgot to bring this stat to you. Since Stanton has come back, the Yankees are 3-0, Keith. Just to let you know. All right.
Jack, Jack made the argument that he went into a slump when Stanton got hurt, and I did the math, and they were 3-10 in 13 games before he went out. So, you know.
Yeah, well, yeah, I can't debate that. I can't debate that. All right. There was a football game last night.
Was
sort of preseason game that they decided that they would stop because of lightning and bad weather in the third quarter. Chicago ends up, I guess they say they won the game 21-17. The second string quarterback threw for 3 touchdowns. Hey, listen, that's the first sign that football is coming back, right? This is the Hall of Fame game. This we know football's right around the corner. And so, and of course, you had the inductees too. So it's a nice thing.
I like watching it for the interviews with the guys that are going to be inducted, and you're right. It does. It's the official kind of whistle blow that the season's getting close, as you said, and for the game, it's doesn't hold a lot of interest. They've had like 5 practices, and they're going to go play a game. So
right. So I mean, it's just like I said, it's more of a traditional thing. I like tradition. And good.
I can't stand watching exhibition football. I love the NFL regular season games. I know early in the year it might be a little sloppy, but I still love watching the games. And I understand the exhibition games are important to the coaches evaluating who makes the team, this and that. But the starters don't play because they know they're going to be the starters for the most part. But, for backup positions, it's good value. Brett Ripien plays a really good game quarterback in the Bears yesterday. So what does that basically mean? He's going to have a roster spot.
It's nothing. Yeah, it's
basically means.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you also Jack, it is, you can get these tickets cheaper than regular tickets. You get to see some of the starters go in there. I enjoy it. I just enjoy football. So me, Jack, and Doc went to watch the Jets and the Giants. Had a good time. In this preseason game, I had a good time. So, I mean, if you love football, I don't care what it is as far as the NFL goes. I'm going to watch my Giants preseason games to look at different players who I think are going to be good, who may make the team. I mean, I'll be rooting for some of that's where I like it. I really don't care about the final score as much as watching some of the players, especially the positions you need. And there are a lot of rookie quarterbacks that are going to be in the preseason this year. You're going to see J.J. McCarthy in there. You're going to see Bo Nix in there. You're going to see Caleb Williams at one point or another, Jaden Daniels at one point or another. You're going to get to see what he does in a live NFL game when he can get hit. So that to me will draw a little bit more interest too.
Well, right? I'm going to tell you, to give you an idea of the way the mentalities change exhibition games. Joe Namath was out for the season once, a good part of the season, in an exhibition game with the Lions by trying to make a tackle.
Yeah.
By trying to make a tackle. The mentality has changed, so much now. They're so scared of players getting injured, but sometimes it's done at the expense of them not getting the work in that they should be getting because they're so timid, these coaches.
100%. Those guys used to play the entire game back in the time you're talking about, Jack.
Yes. And Drake May, of course, the Patriot fans will be interested to see how he plays in a regular game, even though it's exhibition. The kickoff, new kickoff rules kicked in 7 times. They tried to return a kickoff. I don't know. Keith's shaking his head. Anything to bring back special teams.
I don't know what it looks like. It just looks. I mean, again, I agree. I like special teams, and kickoffs have always been one of the most exciting parts of the game. But it just looks weird, and maybe I got to get used to it. It just looks weird watching these guys with these new rules, and they had some trouble a couple times last night too. The players adjusting to those rules. Yeah. So.
Well, the rule they have to change that drives me crazy is the onside kick rule. Because the chances of a recovering an onside kick are no more than 10%. No, like they're 1 out of 10.
That's what it's supposed to be.
But change the rule in this sense that instead of kicking it for an onside kick, let the team take the ball out on the other team's 15-yard line, and they have to score on that possession.
No, you're changing it. Now you're changing the game.
Well, you changed the game already, Mac. You have to announce you're going to onside kick. You can't onside kick when you're behind. It's
don't yell at me. I didn't make the new rules. I didn't say nothing. I'm saying it's supposed to be.
You on this show, and I'll yell at him.
It's supposed to be hard to recover an onside kick. That's why they do by surprise. That's why they work on it. It's not supposed to be a play. I'm talking to Jack now, not you, Keith. It's supposed
I'm not
to
talking
be
about a
hard.
surprise onside kick. I'm talking about within 2 minutes.
It's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be a hard play. Good.
How's it a surprise, though? How's it a surprise when I got to tell you I'm doing it?
I agree, Keith. I think it's stupid, but that's what they did. I don't know. What can I tell you? I'm not in charge. You know what I mean? So anyway.
Well, you should be, I think. Maybe not.
Thank you.
Maybe not. After that tie in baseball comment, I'm not so sure now.
Yeah, Ty, get it over with. Let's get to the end of the season. I'm tired of all that nonsense. Anyway, and Atlanta Falcons owner says he doesn't care what anybody says about his draft pick. He's very happy with it. Kirk Cousins is playing outstanding right now, according to him, in training camp. He's got his quarterback for the future. He don't listen to you guys. He says he's a team of thinkers. He's got this set up. So all the people and Kirk Cousins he was told when he was signed that they were going to be probably drafting a quarterback. All of the stuff that Kurt said was wrong. So there you go. So the owner
called his quarterback a liar on top of everything else. That's cool.
Wait. The way is it doing it? Did you tell him they were going to draft? You were going to draft a quarterback highly. Like, let's say, for example, the Jets might mention to Aaron Rodgers, we're going to draft a quarterback in the later rounds, which they did in the 5th round. I mean, maybe Cousins was led to believe they take a fly on someone later on, not with the 8th overall pick. The question is, would Cousins have signed with the Falcons had he known they were going to do that? Probably not, unless it was the only offer out there. If it was the only offer out there, he would have taken the money. But the Vikings would have given him an offer, too. They would have paid him similar money to that, but they told him they were going to draft a quarterback in all likelihood very highly with their first pick.
Well, I don't know.
All right, guys, I got to jump.
All right, Keith. Glad you stopped in. Keith Engle from TGI Sports Talk. Thanks for stopping in, Keith.
See you Sunday morning.
See you, Keith.
Yes, sir. So there you go, folks. Keith Engle. And, we love having him in every Friday. And, again, on Sunday, the big football show. So, Jack, back to the Olympics. I wasn't aware that Simone Biles did all that stuff, to let you know while you guys were talking. I didn't know.
No, my thing is Simone Biles is this. After they won the gold, now she's putting down her former teammate who questioned the work ethic, not a Simone Biles, of the other girls on the team, because she wanted to defend her current teammates. Why didn't she do it as soon as her former teammate made the remark? But then her former teammate apologized, said she was sorry, she regretted making the remark. But Simone Biles wasn't going to accept the apology. So if you're not going to accept the apology, speak about it immediately and forcefully. Don't wait for weeks until after you win the gold medal. And now you're bold. Now you're a hero. You could speak up. You know what it reminded me of? One guy who's been challenged to a fight, and then he comes with guys standing behind him and says, okay, let's fight. But if he's alone, he's not going to do it. So, Simone Biles was... to me, took a hit. I was disappointed in her. I appreciate her trying to defend her current teammates, but she didn't do it when the remark was said. And I didn't appreciate her not accepting an apology from the person who made the remark. She wouldn't let go. Wouldn't let go, and she tarnished her own tremendous achievement, to me only. Winning the all-around competition, remarkable comeback at age 27. It should have been pure joy, but she takes to Instagram and attacks her former teammate who just made one remark. And her former teammate wasn't bad-mouthing the team for a while. There wasn't a history of all that. It was only one remark that the former teammate then apologized about. But Simone Biles wants to brand her and humiliate her for making that remark sometime later.
I got to check out that. I didn't see that. I got to check out that comment. Of course, she did win the overall all-around gold and the
remarkable
Susina Lee won the bronze medal. So, and think about it. 4 years ago, right? She took herself out of the competition for some kind of mental, block.
Right. Well, yeah. We're glad she made that recovery. Oh, and by the way, Simone Biles' teammates piled on the former teammate after Simone Biles initiated everything. They kind of followed her lead.
Gotcha.
They strike me as a bunch of, they were out of line. I don't want to go too far on what I have to say, but I was disappointed in the women's gymnastics team's conduct afterwards. They should have been, they shouldn't have even brought it up because they got an apology over it, a sincere apology, but they couldn't let go. They still they wouldn't even accept that. And then they started attacking the former teammate, weeks later. Come on.
The Olympic USA women's basketball teams wins 87-74 versus Belgium. Brendan Stewart, who was, I don't know if you've watched WNBA besides Caitlin Clark and everything. Brendan Stewart is a huge star.
I follow it because, in large part, because of Caitlin Clark. Created a buzz like any other fan.
Brendan Stewart is one of the stars there. 26.7 rebounds. Aja Wilson has 23 points, 13 rebounds. They're moving on to play Germany on their way to the quarterfinals. Everybody was worried when they played the WNBA All-Stars, but people don't realize the WNBA All-Stars might be able to get gold in the Olympics too, that team itself. So, I mean, maybe why don't they have, Jack, I've never asked anybody this question. Maybe why can't they have two basketball teams from the U.S. there? Why can't they, why can't you have like the East Coast and the West Coast or something? Why can't they do that?
Well, you can only have one team and you have a roster. You're allowed X amount of players. You can't have different teams. What are they going to do? The Olympics send in the Boston Celtics team to play for the United States? Come on.
No, I mean, why can't they have what prevents, I guess it's got to be a rule that you can only have one team per country. But our country is bigger than France's. I mean, why can't we have more people?
No, France has different teams like the NBA. This is their national.
No, but I'm talking about in the Olympics. In the Olympics, France has only so many people. France you could put in New York, all right? New York is about as big as France. So why can't we have more than one team? I mean, the United States is really a bunch of countries. If you think about it, the states are as big as countries over in Europe. Why can't we have more than one team?
I don't know what you're talking about, Mac. You have me dumbfounded.
What
the heck are you talking about?
Why can't we have more than one Olympic basketball team?
How do you have more than one Olympic? So we should have two teams
that
have chances to win medals. It makes no sense. Mac, I don't know what you're talking about.
I just want to clarify it yourself. Why is it that rule? I mean, if it was based off population, for instance, the Soviet Union, right? The Soviet Union had a bunch of countries in there, right? At one time. The States are nothing but small countries.
Oh, I understand what you're saying now. So you think because the United States is bigger, we should have more representation in the Olympics and other teams. It doesn't work that way,
Okay,
Matt.
I just wondered. I had to ask the question.
It doesn't work that way. It would be
there is no bad question, Jack. There's no bad questions. There's no stupid questions. So anyway, all right. So let's go on. The men did win. They did beat Sudan. Their third team went in there. Tatum played in the game. The bench outscored them. They got like 66 points. But Joel Embiid didn't play at all.
That's the story with these Olympics. Who's not playing? That's what people are focused on. Jason Tatum didn't play one game. Everyone's focusing on and getting on Steve Kerr. It's one game. Now Joel Embiid's sitting on the bench sulking. All these guys want to play. And even though Steve Kerr says he doesn't care, this is the way it's going to be done, and he's made a lot of good moves, he's coached well these Olympics, you kind of wonder, hypothetically, let's say he decides, I'm going to sit Steph Curry. He's got to deal with Steph Curry when the NBA season begins, and he doesn't want an unhappy Steph Curry. And
that's a bad reason. You got to show that you're that way. You got to sit Steph Curry. You got it, just to show them
No,
there's equal.
You're playing your best guy, and LeBron commands such power. It's so hard to sit LeBron. But the point of the matter is, elite players have to sit a couple of them. It could be Kevin Durant, it could be Anthony Edwards, Joel Embiid, Jason Tatum. Whoever at that time has to sit. You got to win the gold medal. At the end of the day, it's going to come down to this. If the U.S. wins the gold, Steve Kerr's off the hook. I mean, how can anyone complain? You win the gold medal. But he also knows he for all his bold talk, not caring about feelings and this and that he can't be concerned with it. He's not going to be sitting these superstars more than one game in a row. You sit them one game and then, it magnifies. I was watching a little bit yesterday of this HBO documentary on Pete Rose. I didn't realize it's a 4-part documentary. And what happened in one of the playoff games the Phillies were in, it was 1983. So he wasn't quite in the prime of his career anymore. Still a good player. They sat him on the bench for a game. And the look on his face, he was steaming on the bench. That's how Joel Embiid looked yesterday. You have a superstar like that. You're sitting him on the bench. It's just like he can't tolerate it. Because this is a guy who's one of the best players in the game. Any of them, just about. A Derek White, you could glue to the bench for the most part. Very good Celtic player. Anthony Edwards is a rising star. But Anthony Edwards also knows they're legends like his idol, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Steph Curry, Embiid. Guys who've been in the league longer. So maybe you can get away with limiting Anthony Edwards' minutes. But it's so hard with these established superstars like Tatum and Embiid.
Listen, I mean, that's some people say it's a good problem to have, but sometimes that problem can be overwhelming too, especially with pressure from the outside. Yes, definitely. Jack, this week in history, we got about 8 minutes left. Let's see. This week, Muhammad Ali knocks out Brian Landon in the third.
Brian London.
Okay, in the third to retain his world title. That was
Ali was blind. London was completely outclassed, complete mismatch. He wasn't in Ali's league, even though London actually fought for the heavyweight title in 1959 against Floyd Patterson and lasted into the 11th round before getting stopped. But he was very average, and Ali got him on the ropes in the third round and just unleashed a lightning fast flurry. And London, went down and was counted out.
Yes. 1992, Carl Lewis leads the U.S. sweep of track and field.
Carl Lewis,
1992. He had a, let me see if I
think he won 2 gold medals in
let's
those
do it in chronological
he
order.
Won the long jump in
1984, starting 1984, Carl Lewis leads him with the long jump, 8.5 meters.
He won 4 golds in 84.
Second of his 4 goals, correct, Jack, in the LA Olympics. Then in 1992, he comes back,
He ran in the 88 Olympics, 84 and 88. And 88 was the famous Olympics where he finished second to Ben Johnson in 100 meters, but then Ben Johnson tested positive for steroid use, and Lewis was elevated to the gold medal. And Lewis also won the long jump.
Long jump. He was a long jumper. That dude was a long jumper.
Yeah.
I mean, in 1992, you're talking about 28 feet, 5.5 inches. I mean, that guy could jump. Let's see. And there were the 3 other guys that were involved at the time. Mike Powell takes the silver. Joe Green takes the bronze. Kevin Young.
That was a great with Mike Powell. That was a great competition there because Mike Powell, the year before 1992, 1991 at Tokyo in the World Championships at track and field, Mike Powell broke Bob Beeman's long jump record.
Yes.
Mike Powell was actually a favorite to win that race That long jump competition, but he wasn't at his best in the Olympics, and Lewis kind of edged him out there.
Yeah, first jump he beat him. Let's go. Kevin Young demolishes the old hurdles record with a 46 second 7.78 speed in the
Right.
hurdles.
He broke Edwin Moses' record, which was 47.02, and it came out of nowhere. What Kevin Young did, it came out of nowhere, him breaking the record. It wasn't like anticipated.
All right, so that's your This Week in Sports update. I'm going to remind you, I'm going to leave before we cut off. I'm gonna hit with a quick commercial. I didn't play it at the halfway point, so I'll play it on our way out. Thank you all for joining us. Thanks to Keith Engle. Of course, me and Jack always have fun on our show. We'll be back with Sports Memories on Saturday, the big football show on Sunday, all at the same time, 8 a.m. So stick with us all weekend long. Keith Engle's up right after us with his Are You Serious or One-on-One, where he does his interviews. One of the other shows, he's been doing his one-on-one interviews lately. So we're going to let you go. I'm going to leave you with a commercial, and we're out of here, Jack. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate you guys more than you know. Have a great Friday, folks. To get National Streaming Sports on Roku TV, channel search National Streaming Sports, tap on our logo. On laptop, tablet, or mobile phone, download the free Roku app, channel search, tap on our logo. For smart TV, order the Roku device from the Roku store, hook it up to your TV, channel search National Streaming Sports, and tap on the logo. After adding the Roku channel National Streaming Sports, this is our Roku site. You can click on the live stream to see what show is playing, or go to the VOD category, weekly schedule, click on the day, and it will give you all the shows scheduled for that day.